Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Catch Up Court. I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood catch-up man. We do nothing but trial recaps, case coverage, and discussions on this channel, like we're gonna be doing tonight, discussing the crazy, mind-blowing trial of Nicholas Kassotis. I am joined by three awesome guests, but before I do bring them up, let me just give a brief overview to give everyone that probably hasn't heard of this trial or watching back on replay and wondering what the hell is going on. Nicholas Kassotis was found guilty on all 12 charges that he was charged with, including felony murder, aggravated assault and malice murder. And he is sentenced to life in prison without parole. If you haven't heard of this trial fully, I will leave the link in the description for all of the catch up. But yeah, but a quick overview. The prosecution were basically saying that he had killed his wife and had done so because she was not giving him a child like he wanted. So he moved on to another woman, killed her, and then planned to start a new life. But the defense was saying that they themselves, that he was living in fear because a person that goes by the name of Jim McIntyre had told him that people were after him, and that's when all of this just went straight to the pits of hell. But let me bring up my guests to discuss all of this. Thank you so much, Joshua Schiffer, Lexi the Law Nerd, as well as Sweet Pea Diamond, for being here. I really appreciate all of you for lending your voice to this and discussing this case, because I cannot have been the only one that thought, what on earth is actually going on with this man? What is going on with this case? I'll be very honest. I watched for Doug Weinstein. I started for Doug Weinstein. I was like, wow, the guy from YSL. I haven't followed YSL, but that's where I heard of him from. I was like, okay, what's the fuss? What is the fuss about? Let me see this guy out. And we saw a case of a man that and this guy called Jim McIntyre doing. I want to start with you, Doug. You've represented victims, in the Epstein case, and if I'm not mistaken, you also do criminal defense work. What did you make of this trial from an attorney's perspective?
Well, it was a really challenging client. You don't always get to pick your client's personality. Thankfully, Doug is of the success that he can pick some clients. But just because you've chosen a client doesn't mean you get all the easy parts. And the hardest part of that case, and I think Doug would admit this straight up, it's not like I'm talking out of school, Mr. Kassotis was a nut job. Like, he was a manipulative, in many ways appeared psychopathic, or at least some of his behaviors were just absolutely psychopathic in action. He had completely convinced himself of the legitimacy of his version of events. And you saw it come right out of his mouth when he was testifying. He couldn't wait for everybody to believe how much sense he made. And you just need to see it from his perspective. And boom, it's an acquittal. And I think he might have been the only one surprised when the jury came back and said, guilty, 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 12 times. Because anybody that I know that watched that kind of performance sees that kind of theater from the defendant as being self-serving, as being inauthentic, as being curated, and completely unreliable.
Right. I want to get you guys as well chime in, like Sweet Pea Diamond and Lexi Lornard. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you, Sweet Pea, because you've been covering this case. I found you because of the Ali and Ali trial. I enjoy your commentary on there, but this one, unfortunately, I did not hear too much of your thoughts in regards to what was going on. What did you make of this? What was going on when you saw the wives testify, and the defendant. Oh, my bad. Your mic is not on. I
Oh
cannot
no,
hear
the
you.
devil of the mute.
Yeah, yeah, the devil of the mute. Okay. Oh, is it working now for you? Uh, uh, um. Okay, so it was working before, but same goes to you, Lexi. Like, what did you make of the what did you make of the testimonies that was going on in this trial? While I try and sort out, we'll come back to you, Sweet Pea, while we try and sort out your audio. But yeah, Lexi, what did you make of it? You're on mute, by the way. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
Oh, I think the mute
I
button
can
is
sing, I
cursing
can
us
dance, I can keep talking while you work on this.
tonight.
Why don't I just kind of tell people about where this case comes out of in Georgia? Because I know that this podcast is really popular outside the United States. When we talk about the YSL case, which is like Heinz was saying, is where a lot of people met Doug Weinstein the first time, because Doug's not a lifetime criminal defense attorney. He actually was a civil litigator for years and years and made a very good name for himself before getting the opportunity to jump in on some criminal work
I
with
didn't know
Jay
that.
Papp, who had been involved
Oh,
with the YSL trial, because Jay had lots of stuff to do, and so Doug got brought in. So Doug was brand new to criminal trial work, but a very experienced civil litigator. You'll have to forgive my kitty cat trying to knock my camera around. So Doug kind of comes at this from a unique perspective, and then he obviously, as the spectacular lawyer, gets hired on this case because they need someone to come in and try it. That's a big dog, and he bites it off.
yeah.
It's going to be his first really huge trial after YSL. It was a high profile trial, and it was always going to be a high profile trial because of the defendant. We're talking about somebody who was a former prosecutor. We're talking
Right.
about someone who's on marriage number 3 when the wife ends up cut into teeny pieces. We're talking about a cold case too,
Right.
which, or not, sorry, not a cold case. We're talking about a violent domestic violence case as well, which is always going to be a big local issue. So
Right.
we got a neat perspective with Doug, who very much the struggle in that case, as much as the facts were hard, his client's own behavior and mentality was the penultimate issue in how that jury ruled.
Right, and that's a question I want to ask you because I mean I didn't know all of the all of Doug's background, but I was quite impressed with his lawyering because I thought that he really represented his client to the fullest. Like it was as if he was like fighting with both his arms, legs, and with a blindfold on, and that's how it was effectively fighting. So, but the question I wanna ask is like, when you look at, especially for him, because he not only had bad facts, but he also had to kind of rehabilitate his client. There
Not
was
kind
one thing.
of.
There was one thing going for him, and there was no history of domestic violence. Like there was none of that actually part of the case. That this? Do you think that this was a case in which you could call domestic violence, considering that there have been no testimony of him actually? In fact, he was always a nice guy. He wasn't violent or even raising his voice. Do you think that this was a case where domestic violence could be argued?
Yeah, definitely, because under Georgia law, because of the marital relationship, that it's going to automatically be kind of layered on. So you've got the crimes, and then there's another law called the Georgia Family Violence Act that layers on top of it. So you can have a family violence or domestic violence, murder, rape, criminal trespass. You can have all kinds of different charges that have domestic violence labeled on top as a sentence modifier. And obviously, there was romance afoot at the heart of this awfulness.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do want to ask while I'm trying to sort out the audio for the rest. I do want to ask you because I have always thought about the prosecution strategy that they didn't really have direct DNA evidence, but they still had a lot of the materials to use. You know, a lot of the circumstantial evidence. They had the blood on the futon. They had blood under the carpet from the Airbnb. They also had his purchases on the day, you know, buying a saw right on the day from Bass Pro. They have him at the cleaning station where you wash your car right by the hunting uh, place. They have him going in, staying there for like an hour or two, then driving back out. They have totes, but they didn't find any DNA on the totes. With it sounds akin to the OJ trial, but here Nicholas said that Jim McIntyre told them that the parents are not his biological parents and they were out to get him for their financial reasons. What do you think of the prosecution when they decided not to call the parents to come in and testify? What was the strategy there? Because you would think this is the first point: call them in, show this guy's a liar. Let's all go. Then bring all the other evidence. Let's all go home. What do you think was going on there?
Well, really, I'll tell you, it was a mitigation and avoiding potential additional problems. State had made a good case. State didn't have the strongest potential case, but it had made definitely a prima facie case, had all the stuff lined up. Bringing the parents, do you want to bring them as the state, or do you want the defense to bring them? And really, the defense might not have wanted to bring them because of some of the issues that they could also bring up. There's also the risk that a juror could engender themselves after hearing from the parents about something, childish or positive from the defendant. So I think the state was smart not bringing them. If anything, on the defense, that might have been a good way to mitigate some of the impact that the defendant was going to cause by testifying himself. But you don't always get that choice. And who you call as witnesses oftentimes influenced by your client. And if your client doesn't want to put somebody through something, that's a big deal. It's part of the calculus of trial lawyering is what are you going to put your witnesses through? So many people believe they have someone that's going to come to their rescue and testify the way they want. Well, until it comes to actually testifying. And some people's friends are not so great when push comes to shove.
That's an interesting way to look at it because I have always I didn't consider that they could do that because I thought it might be bad for them to not pursue that that some jurors might think why wouldn't they pursue that lead, especially from the fact that they saw in the police interview that he was mentioning the parents being after him even. So, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it gives air to the craziness. He's the one making up or talking about these third-party conspiracies and this mystery individual and all this stuff, which I get. It's very attractive from a defense perspective because if the jury is picking up what you're putting down, boom, it's hard for them to get to beyond a reasonable doubt. There's your leverage. There's your pathway to argue during summation. But in this case, he didn't have anything. He didn't bring anything about these third parties. The moment you add the parents to the equation, someone can talk about some of this otherwise speculative commentary that he's offered in his testimony. And so it's very telling that he didn't bring some witnesses up. And really, if you're going to, as a defendant, point at something, say, hey, it's not what the state's saying. It's this over there, whether it's an individual, whether it's a factual circumstance, whether it's some, you got to have some there. You can't say my family, financial, this, that, the other, crazy third party without having someone come up and offer some corroboration. Otherwise, it's just a lie on the street. And if you look at this in comparison to the Wolfenbarger case that's going on in Fulton County right now, you see that the state is basically throwing these individual things that are meaningless unless you have speculation. Oh, he owned a Sawzall. Guess what? I got a Sawzall downstairs. Guess what? I got all kinds of crazy crap in the basement. So do a lot of middle-aged dads who have a garage with a bunch of crap in it. And I can make it sound, hey, guess what? You can put together all kinds of stuff in the right combination and make it seem suspicious. I own bleach and garbage bags and rubber gloves. Don't you, Mr. Schiffer? Don't you own those? Don't you keep them together? Yes, I keep them handy. You keep your gloves and your bleach and your garbage bags together, ready to murder. Well, no, I don't want to hear it. Like, come on now. I'm talking too much. I want to hear from Sweet Pea. I want to hear from Lex.
Yeah, like no, that's your criminal defense side coming out there. But Sweet Pea is your I think I can hear you now. Welcome to the.
Here?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I have left the YouTube channel in the description. Make sure you go check out her channel. She does trial watch every day. She's an amazing creator. But I want to get your opinion in regards to this case. What did you make of this whole madness? Like, legit, what was going on? Talk to me.
Okay. Well, first, I want to thank everybody. Thank you for having me. Welcome to the catch-up chatters, right? Is that what I see? Catch-uppers? I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Thank you.
In regards to this case, I don't know where to begin, right? I had a problem from the start, right? I'm not an attorney. Let me put that disclaimer out here. So this is just my opinion. Why didn't he report his wife missing? I was lost. That was my first cue. You are guilty. Like, that screamed guilty to me off the bat. Then we get, they're on the run from who? And this mystery person, right? That we don't have on video. All of these things, like the defense, I just thought it was a lose case. And I felt bad for my Doug, right? I seen him in YSL case and everybody got off without a plea. And so I'm like, okay, well, Doug is here and, he's a good attorney. We should see some good things. And what we got was Jim. Where is Jim? I have a whole issue. He's Tony Stark. He's Iron Man. He's He-Man. He's She-Man. What is going on in this case? It took me and my chat forever to figure out what is going on. Because, if you're going to unalive somebody, why are we not doing it to the first wife that we owe 1.5 million to? Like, I'm like, what? Not to say that I want anything now, but I'm like, what is going on? So, needless to say, I'm glad that the prosecution team, she did a great job in her closing statement, which kind of put some pieces together to the puzzle where I could kind of understand what happened. And it was about money, but I think it was more that he just didn't want to pay Mindy, because he already owed from the first wife. So that's the conclusion I came up with. Not sure. He's not going to tell us. And, just to speak to your question in regards to the parents, he couldn't, they were just as delusional as Nick. Okay. Let's just put it out there. They heard all the testimony. They heard everything that was in the case. They sat right there after the jury had reached their verdict and they said, he was a sweet young boy. He would never do any of these things, but I haven't seen him in 5 years because he said that I was after him, but he's not guilty. Okay. Have several seats. Yeah. That's why you can call them.
And remember, everybody's got mama. Like, mamas are not the best, like, get you out of stuff in court. Like, because everybody's got a mama. And everybody's mama probably gonna just say the good stuff. And that's just the way that's gonna go. So the benefit you get from your own mama saying you're a good boy, everybody's going, yeah, okay. There's nothing there when it comes to the impact of a mama saying he's a good boy. And really, we're dancing around the biggest question, which is, how this guy get married 3 times to 3 good women and I'm still single? That's the problem right here. I make a good living. I am only somewhat ugly. And that man was landing quality women left, right, and center. That next episode.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I'll be doing my UK tour next spring.
Lexi the Lorna, what did you make of she's having difficulty? So I will just say I'll take this opportunity to basically thank Dr. Rachel B for her $5 super chat. I appreciate you. She says, I could not be more excited for this. Let's go take a trial lawyer-ship. And Lexi, 3 of my favorite true crimers ever. I'm glad that you guys are here. If you have any questions for Doug, not Doug, pardon me. Sorry about that. For Josh,
I don't know who's insulted. I'll ask him that next time. He's on his way back home to town today, leaving Savannah today. Which, that's another thing we didn't really talk about, was this is in a very different location than where YSL happened. Savannah is an older city than Atlanta. It was actually basically where the whole colony, which now state, was founded. But it is a decidedly different community than Atlanta. Atlanta is very modern, very young, very diverse. It really is the calling card of civil rights and a big progressive dot of economic and technological research. Savannah is the old South part, that if you want to go show your visitor, oh, let's go look at a little bit of that classic, old South. And it's still a very polarized community. You have much more, traditional race relations that have not kept up with the rest of America, because it is a very slow moving culture down there. It's obviously, this is the same community where Ahmaud Arbery was tried, basically. Remember that case, the jogger, a very similar part of the state. And that's a big part of this in how you approach any kind of criminal trial, because of the attitude of the DA's office, and because a bunch of Georgia is very anti-government historically. We've always been kind of anti-establishment while still embracing some conservative law and orderness down there. But it really made for an interesting jury. But it was a jury that didn't have any problems issuing an instant conviction. What, hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Something like that?
80.
They woke up and were like, I don't want to be here for lunch.
Yeah.
They were trying to get McDonald's breakfast, okay?
Yeah.
They were not playing around.
Yeah, like I think it took them 90 minutes or 1 hour 17 minutes to render their verdict. But yes, chat, if you have any questions, lay them out in the chat. I will try my best to relay it all through this. But I want to ask, I want to play this clip because a juror did speak out regarding this case to Court TV, and they said this about Nicholas Kassotis and that, and how they reached their verdict. I thought it was quite interesting from what they said. From what he said, he was the juror. He was the jury foreperson. So let me play it, and then I'll ask my question afterwards.
It really didn't help his case. So whoever Jim McIntyre is, it's not possible to find him.
Was there anything that defense counsel said, or the defendant himself, that did resonate? I know the defense counsel talked about his client being an attorney himself. He served our country, so a military man. He was a JAG officer. Why sit down and talk with investigators and give up your constitutional right to remain silent if you really did do this? He freely spoke and gave his story. Did anything resonate with you at all, thinking maybe he didn't do it, or maybe he is telling the truth?
When he did give up his constitutional rights and did talk about his side, I don't believe as a jury we could dismiss that. We definitely took that into consideration. We definitely considered the statements by him and the willingness he had to actually discuss what took place. But when it really comes down to it, as a jury, we have to make our decision off of the evidence. There's no way around that.
Did anything in regard to the DNA, no DNA here? Defense counsel talked about that.
No DNA is, it's a lot harder to justify just because you don't have DNA that the person is innocent, but at the same breath, you can't say that they're not guilty. So
There were some really tough pictures to take a look at when they were shown to the jury. These screens were turned off inside the courtroom, so we could not see them. How difficult were those? I'm certain they were very difficult to take a look at. And did that in a way, because it was such a gruesome case, is it a matter of, well, someone is guilty of this crime clearly, and this is the man the prosecutor says did it? And how much of a role did those gruesome pictures play in making a decision, if any?
Well, we got to remember, this is somebody's daughter, this is somebody's sister, this is somebody's cousin, and this is also somebody's aunt. This is a human being, and they should be treated as such. What happened to her is unspeakable. There's nothing that can be said that any type of human being deserves that type of treatment.
Sure.
And that's kind of all I have to say on that one.
It's very...
Okay, so the question I want to ask is, because I understand that we're all humans, like, and this kind of goes to you, Josh, because I understand that we're all humans. I have always praised Doug Weinstein in how he defended Nicholas, but do you think it was a failing for him not to hammer home and highlight that the defense has no burden of proof, or is it a jury failing that they expected Nicholas to present some kind of record? Because we heard from the juror there that they were expecting some kind of thing to show that Jim McIntyre was real, etc. Do you think that that's a jury failing or that's a defense failing?
Well, it's not a failing as much as I know that Doug really wanted all the information about Jim McIntyre he could have possibly gotten. And
Okay.
I'd be willing to bet there was a long discussion about, hey, we need something to give the jury about Jim McIntyre. Man, you got a good description, you got an autograph, you got a text message, like, you got to give me something. Like, the fact that Doug didn't have anything, that ain't a Doug problem. That's a Mr. Kassotis problem. And really, it sucks because your client gives you a lot of the clay that you're working with as the criminal defense attorney. You've got a couple of sources of data or information. You've got the police reports, the investigations, that testimony. Then you've got what your client has. And if your client's going to put a flag in the ground and say it was a third party, that's changed the burden discussion. It went from the state hasn't proved this case. The state had an obligation to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt by putting up evidence. We didn't have to put up jack squat, and look at what happened. And that was, in many ways, YSL. It was a whole bunch of stuff, none of which got together to prove some of these murders. In this case, and anytime you've got that, and it wasn't really the clear justification defense. That's what we think about with stand your ground or self-defense is justification. That's an affirmative defense where you actually have a clear burden to prove. The third party, unknown individual, it's not a formal burden, but you got to give the jury something to upset the state's ability to carry the burden, which the state very clearly had enough to present a full burden.
Okay. So
I
go on.
got a question, and this is for Joshua, if you don't mind. So the whole entire time as we were watching the trial, my question, because I'm not an attorney, why didn't we go for some type of insanity? Because it sounds like Jim is part of Nick, and they are one in the same. And this is a delusional. He has written books, right? It seems like he's playing a character in a book, and I just really wanted to know, like, why didn't they get like a evaluation, try to plead some type of insanity? Like, do you know what?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. There's a giant gulf between legally incompetent and crazy.
Oh, okay.
And that's just what it is. To be found legally incompetent is a unfortunately high and difficult bar. And we could do 10 podcasts on the 2 or 3 major systems of determining whether someone can be held criminally responsible due to a mental defect or illness, and it gets very technical. None of which comes into play if the person's just off. Now, you can bring it up as mitigation, but for culpability, that's going to be something that it's very difficult to get around. And there's no way that from any of the behavior that we saw that this was going to happen. Remember, this is a guy that's a lawyer. This is a guy that's convinced lots of people of lots of stuff. He could certainly have one of many mental health conditions, bipolar, schizophrenia. There's a whole book about different things that you could try to diagnose him with or use as some sort of explanation as to why, but that doesn't get him away from the culpability of taking a life. That mental health defense generally is a lot more valuable when you've got flexibility in sentencing and charges. Remember, since the way this case was charged in the way that it was, he was getting life.
Yeah. Okay.
He needed to just not win. He needed to win. Whereas lots of times, at least in Georgia, but many other states as well, they'll stack charges from some really serious ones that are a little bit of a reach and then give those lesser included, because that allows the jury to pick from the menu of declining charges.
Okay.
Where defense attorneys hate that crap, because basically you should charge him with what he's guilty with. Don't charge him with a bunch of other stuff he might be guilty. No. Charge him what you can prove. If you can't prove murder, don't put murder in there. Put manslaughter, put ag battery, put all kinds of other crap in there. Because when you get into negotiations, that's really where a lot of the art and science comes in. As long as felony murder is on the table, life. And that statute is so easy to trip. And it is very challenging to negotiate against, because it's not, hey, 40 do 30, 20 do 10. No. The state gets this, hey, if we win at trial, you get life. Mm-hmm. And there have been some they would make you sick to your stomach. I had a case where it was a young kid, just literally barely an adult, 17, gets the ride with the older dudes who happen to rob the gas station and shoot the guy while the kid's in the car. So kid is present, discussed, was present afterwards, an armed robbery that resulted in the death of another person. That's life. Kid didn't even get out of the car.
Wow.
And if the state don't want to negotiate, guess what the jury hears? Ladies and gentlemen, it's indisputed. He was present in the vehicle. Here's where the other guys got out and killed somebody. He was there before. He was there after. He was in the car. If you think that's involved, convict him. And Georgia law tells you to convict him. And then the judge doesn't have any sense but to say guilty. So it really is up to then a DA to decide, don't charge him with the felony murder. Don't charge him with some of this other stuff. And that's why, yet again, the system is totally unfair. It's like the Patel case you guys were talking about. Defense can't do squat until they get into court. State has it written where they can just sit on their ass. And that's why Mr. Patel sat on his ass. And everybody was like, how the hell does that happen? Well, that's the law, you idiots. You've allowed this to happen. People have very few clues how aggressive state action is until they're receiving it. Nothing is as pitiful and wailing as a, suburbanite fra of, upper middle class that has had to spend 24 hours amongst the people at a downtown jail. They come back, they're the biggest social progressives of all time. How dare that we allow human beings be treated like this? You treat these people like animals. It's like, motherfucker, it's been doing this for a long time. This isn't new. We didn't just start treating people like crap. This is what's been going on. You're just blind to it.
Yeah.
I've got a question here from the chat, and it's from Dr. Rachel B. She's asking you, Josh, to say to whether you believe that Nick was psychologically evaluated and what he thinks about leaving out delusional as a defense strategy.
It was definitely something chosen and discussed. Doug would have been nuts to not have him evaluated at some point or another, given the gravity of what's going on, if just for his own protection. Because as a lawyer, we're not professional medical evaluators, even though we have lots of experience. But if we need the backup of a third-party medical evaluation, I'm sure there is one. And really, his client can be delusional and can be very odd, can make unreasonable decisions. Once you're in trial, there's a very select number of things that the client is 100% in charge of. The lawyer runs the rest of it. But one of those things is the client gets to decide if they want to testify. And this gentleman very clearly wanted everybody to hear his carefully designed, curated, practiced 1,000 times. He even had the whole ask me a question and then look at the jury. Ask me a question and then look at a jury. He was like my 15-year-olds in mock trial. Like, this guy literally picked up a couple books about, hey, here's some tips and tricks for trying cases. And he was, I assume, a somewhat successful prosecutor. Now, that's the stuff that starts to get scary for me is, hold on, this dude was totally ready, willing, and able to do these horrible things. And having now seen him speak begs the question, who has given this dude a job in the first place? Or what happened with the decline? Was he a really totally normal, regular Joe, and then something happened? What were the symptoms? Why did the system not stop him before this?
There is a theory that came up in my chat when I was doing my live catch-ups every day on this trial, and the theory was it was from one of the viewers, and she basically theorized that Nicholas was probably doing some illegal activities, like financial activities where trust has been created because of the state of Delaware and how laxy their laws are in regards to this area. So he would move the money around, and the theory came that Mindy may have found out about these illegal activities and she had to go. So what do you make of that? Like, do you think that there was something going on behind the scenes, like money laundering? Like, have you seen something like that ever happen?
I've seen it happen. There are some couples where there's more secrecy between them than, two random people on the street. It's like they live two different lives. And unfortunately, you can speculate that she knew what was up, didn't know what was up, was participating in it, was objecting to it, was participating, but then objected, but then participate. It's really hard without more transparency and investigation. But remember also, that's a really hard story to tell. It's much easier to say, there was some funny money involved. Let's just leave it at that. Because that's a much more kind of understandable thing. If they'd had the really clear, here's the insurance policies, here's the calls, then the state uses that. If they don't have that, no reason to expand an otherwise reasonably discreet and narrow case.
Well, thank you so much, by the way, game 20252S. Sorry for your $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He or she says, love this panel, great discussion, and he or she is also a cat lady, so we love that here. I don't have a cat, but I know that Joshua is probably
Larry the cat is one of my top 5 UK celebrities right now. Like, really.
So I want to ask this question. there we saw the wife testimony. We saw the testimony from the from the third wife. Sorry, Samantha Kolesnik, and we saw Doug after giving the testimony about how Nicholas had entered inbox on the 24th of September, and then on the 18th and the 22nd of October, he said to her that the wife is dead, that Mindy is dead, and she died of a heart issue because it was aggravated by a pregnancy. She's not dead, by the way. She's not dead at this point. But we saw that testimony. And they sent, I have no problem with him sending the ID of Nicholas Stark. I don't care about that. I can disregard all of that to be quite fair with you. But the one thing that stuck out to me as the worst fact to have on your client is to say that the wife is already dead before that happened. I want to ask, if you had to defend if you had to defend a client like this, and then you saw that testimony come in, how would you create doubt around that testimony? How would you have done? what would you have done, I should say?
Well, it really is contextually dependent. There are bad facts that are going to come out that you don't have an answer for. You can follow up, which calls attention to them. You can make a half-hearted or slightly effective attack on the facts by generally calling out the veracity or reliability of the person presenting the fact. But really, everybody sees exactly what you're doing. Lots of times it is best to just kind of go over them. While you need to likely have some acknowledgement, it's not your job to focus on the bad facts. And a lot of what pretrial preparation involves is identifying your danger points where, hey, that's a juncture, we look like crap. Let's stay away from that. And you hopefully are seeing where the opposition is looking at the danger points you know about, because you've attacked your case a bunch of different ways in preparation. And in a perfect world, you've prepped your clients and testimony and prepped your questioning to mitigate whatever that really crappy fact is. The not calling the police when your wife is missing is ridiculous. Telling people your wife is dead before she's dead, man, that's a pretty crappy one right there. I've made mistakes talking about it, but you see, if I say, listen, everybody makes a mistake, man, that's a crappy excuse. No excuse is better than a crappy excuse that calls into attention how crappy your excuse is. Jurors are wonderful at picking and choosing what matters to them, and it's not what we think. It's the luxury of being an audience member, of being a listener, is they choose what's important. Like in Ahmaud Arbery, for 3 days, every pundit went nuts about his toenails. And man, the whole damn case was going to be about his toenails and the toenail question and whether they noticed the toenails and the toenails and the toenails and the toenails. And then they come out and they were like, toenails? No, man, I barely remember the toenails. Because that's the privilege and luxury of being a juror. You get to see that what that limited box of in court and what your experience is out of court is.
Right.
And it's very easy for us to get lost with stuff that they don't know. It gets back to the fact that trial is an exercise in hiding information from a jury.
That's I do have questions around the hiding facts from the jury, but I just want to thank Alana for becoming a member of the channel. Welcome to the Heinz Condiment Island. Appreciate you for becoming a member. But before asking that question to you, Josh, I want to ask Sweet Pea Diamond, what was the critical evidence, or not even critical evidence? What moment changed this whole trial for you? Like, go on.
I think that I'm telling you, with him not reporting his wife, I think I was I was done with just that statement in his interrogation. Like, why wouldn't you report your wife? Regardless, he could have told that even in the text message, I could consider that him telling the other woman that he's preparing to be with that his wife is unalive because he wants to move on, right? I can even go with that. But I couldn't understand for the life of me if he was trying to really get away with this and get away with it clean. Why wouldn't you report her? Why wouldn't you be the distraught husband? Why wouldn't you be all of these things? So he lost me right kind of there in regards to whether he was innocent or not. And I'm telling you, I don't know if any of y'all, I knew he was going to testify. I did it. It was like, everybody was like, no, it's too risky. I knew it. And do you know, like I crossed my fingers, I said, please stand. And he did. And what a mess. That was the most untruthful testimony I have ever seen.
And there wasn't even really a question about whether he was going to testify because the state had slam dunked him. And the argument that poor Doug was kind of stuck with, it revolved around the idea that his client was going to testify, because if Doug was going to defend that case on a burden pathway or delegitimize some of the witnesses, that doesn't involve your client getting up and then speaking in a way where no one believed anything coming out of your mouth. Like, it's just like Sweet Pea said, the moment he started talking, it's like, no, man, no, don't go in there, dude. You're gonna die. And that's like, there's a lot of question about that as soon as, and that is a testament to Doug fighting a clean fight at that point and preserving his client's best wishes while also trying to create a record, even though I don't see anything giant on the appellate level. But again, we don't know what didn't get let in and, all that stuff. Because it looked like a pretty clean trial otherwise. I didn't like the fact that the DA kept on being all righteously indignant when she didn't. She leaned into it. You already have two ice cream cones in each hand. You got chocolate syrup everywhere. You do not need more.
Yeah.
You got plenty.
Mm-hmm. I got to admit, like, she's been running like a very non-emotional, direct, facts after facts after facts. Why change it to she was a human being? Why try humanize? Just finish off because that's who you are.
And the danger there is that if they say the wrong thing and the juries hold state to a really high standard, she says something stupid. That's when one or two jurors goes, oh man, I can't convict now. She just said that. Like, that's why the consistency of those DAs and controllability is so important.
But to go back to your point, Sweet Pea, because I do feel like, because he was saying that he was told on signal that she was already dead. She was told on signal that she was dead, and the doctors had told her she was dead, and that's why he was telling other people. Do you think that this is probably why he didn't report her missing, etc.? Do you think that was that could explain it?
Absolutely not. And you're going on the side of the road to pick up your wife's ashes, right? No, not for one.
All the way to another county to pick up the wife's. This is why I think he was involved in a financial crime. There is no way you're doing all of it.
I'm divorced and I'd still report my ex-wife missing. Like, come on now. It's just rude.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any, even with the stuff that he was saying that, he signed some forms, like he's a lawyer, like you are reading, like maybe somebody like me, maybe distraught, just, and even it got even stranger because the parents, it's like everybody was a little off to me because as a parent, I want to see my child's body. I want to have a funeral. I want to know what hospital. I want to know all of these things. So it just seemed like maybe just because of where they were at and maybe how things go, but that all seemed really weird. Just everybody, mom, dad, everybody, the delusional parents, so now I can see how he was able to manipulate everybody and have them believe in his stories. All their dynamics were weird. So no, to answer your question.
Well,
All right,
let me
fair
turn
enough,
it
fair.
around now then.
Oh.
And I'll ask both of you this. Was him being a lawyer, how did that affect your perception of him?
I'll let you go first, VP. I got so much thoughts about this. That's a great question, by the way. So go on. I'll let you go first, VP.
I think with him being a lawyer, that I noticed that Doug didn't have a team, because he was his team, right? So he was lawyer, he was being the lawyer, on his own case. I thought he was kind of like self-representing, and Doug was just there. That's what my first thought was. And I thought that he knew kind of, that's why he was able to testify, because he thought that he was going to be able to present. When you were saying like he would answer the question, look at the jury, that's something that somebody is trained in practice would know how to do. But as far as him, like it just seems strange to me that you are that person and you're accused of a crime like this that's so heinous. That was off to me.
Well, in the words of aptly angry lawyer here, it says, surely a prosecutor would get better at getting away with this.
You would think they'd be real good at committing crime. You would. You'd be like, man, they should know how to do this stuff. But
to answer your question,
Heinz, tell me, what do you think? So how does it impact his presentation, being the fact that he's a lawyer?
Personally, I think he had something going for him, and that was the fact that he was part of the military. I think that would have, especially
is another huge thing.
Yeah, like this is something that is something that I heard people say a lot, that Georgia is a military county or something like that. I don't know for sure. I don't know.
Just the U.S. in general, like military service is a big deal.
On top of that, he was prosecuting. I have no reason to disbelieve it, because his friend Chris Sislak went up there and testified that he was prosecuting cases involving sexual assaults, all of those things in the army. I thought that may have worked out well for him. Like, so many years in the army, if you are really innocent, and I think Doug done well here on closing arguments. Like every lawyer would tell their client, don't talk to the cops. But the fact that he flipped it to say, this guy knows the rules.
Oh yeah,
this guy knows. So
Doug did a masterful job leaning in to the bad fit. Man, everything's a gift if you lean into it hard enough. Failure is a gift every time. You're gonna have a guy who is so out of normal with how guess what? That's the way it's supposed to be, and you lean into that.
So me personally, I think him being a prosecutor helped him a lot. Him being part of the JAG helped him a lot. The part that I feel he probably lost everyone, and this is where he lost me, because I would have believed everything if he just said, if he didn't say that Nick, I'm not an FBI agent. If he didn't say that part, if he didn't say, he could have, because that part to me ruined his credibility completely, because I believed him based on the questionings he gave. Like, how was he able to negotiate 1.5 million with the ex-wife being a lawyer if he never believed he had it? That's a great defense point to bring up. And then he goes and destroys all of that by saying that Jim McIntyre himself told him he was not an FBI agent. Then why do you need a security?
So it'd be fair to me to say his sophistication really helped him in understanding the complexities and being clearly understood, but then it hurt him when it came to just the incredulous answers and decisions that he made a couple of times. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was that jump stuff. I don't think my whole, and for him to get on the stand, like I like I said, I wanted him to take the stand. But I just, when he went on and, because he don't even person that can testify to this gym situation, it's just so far-fetched. Like,
and I know we're running out of time, but one last thing.
Mhm.
If there had been evidence of Jim, say there was a Facebook profile or a witness came in and said, yeah, no, I remember Jim. I met him, super sketchy guy, but he's like, how much Jim do we need before the state's beyond a reasonable doubt has been dislodged? Because that, I think, was, if Doug was going to win that case, that's what was missing.
I agree.
Before you go, because I know that you're here limitedly. I on a limited time.
I'll come whenever you guys want. I had the hour, and that's I got.
No, 100%. I really appreciate you for.
I really appreciate you for being here. I love your podcast.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, in regards to the fact that Jim, sorry, not Jim, in regards to the evidence that was brought in from the wife's divorce and all of that being brought in.
Yeah.
I remember from the Amber and Johnny trial where they were actually hiding all of those facts from coming in because they reached a settlement. But here, there was a judgment. So those facts got to come in for a reason. Would that be an appellate issue that Nicholas or Jim McIntyre or anyone could pursue in court?
So
in the appellate court.
When you're appealing from your trial on a major, you get an automatic appeal. Everybody gets them. It's required. You get a new lawyer. You get an appellate counsel. You can have private counsel, but if not, they'll give you a public defender. Know all about that system. And they're appellate lawyers that basically spend the entire time appealing cases, because appeals, not that they're rubber stamped, but there's a lot of similar issues that are common in many cases. And what they will do is they will pick the biggest issues in the trial, whatever they see, and they will make those the center point of the appeal. And those different issues don't have to be all on the same track. You can have a fail to perform from the lawyer in getting a witness or doing some investigation at the same time as you have a judge that made a bad ruling, at the same time as you have an evidentiary issue that didn't come in, came in wrong, whatever. So when it comes to the actual omnibus appeal that will happen sometime, he'll file for a new trial within 30 days, all that stuff. That may rise to them, but it just depends on how many other issues are up there. Because if you put 79 issues in your appeal, you lose. They ain't gonna read that. You get a couple of good, hey, pay attention to this, pay attention to this, pay attention to this. And after that, court appeals like, nah, you're just grasping at straws.
Yeah, because I did find that a bit strange that so many of the previous divorce got to come in, and I thought, how is this relevant if the wife is not even, and the ex-wife is not even an accessory to the crime?
That's the weirdness of relevancy. When is it relevant? When it can be irrelevant and then 2 minutes later be super relevant.
I don't think personally, based on how the trial panned out, it could have. It just made him.
I don't think
it just made him look way too prejudiced. Like, I didn't appreciate those facts coming in because I was like, this really has nothing to do with the case except just proving the prosecution's theory. It's not as if you have an Mindy's insurance documents ready and you're showing these previous documents, this previous judgment on Nick that he had to pay so he would get the insurance money from Mindy to pay. Like, that would make sense. To me, that's directly relevant. But I felt like this was
asking those questions, so is a jury, and juries are like, what the hell did that have? Why'd they waste our time? That's dumb. I don't want to hear about this crap. Like, that's part of case management and deciding how much to add, how much not to, because some judges will let you just chew time, and it affects juries differently. There are benefits to going real fast. There are benefits to going real slow.
This is an interesting point raised here by Adventure Aaron. She says, I consider raising the judge denying the defense motion to sequester the lead detective. Agent Sands was the last witness, so he sat through the entire trial.
And there is a giant fight over who gets to sit at the state's table because of exactly that reason. You're not a victim. You're a police officer, investigator, detective. You ain't a DA. You ain't planning a case. You need to be sequestered like everybody else, because we all know that if you watched the entire state's case at counsel table,
It was him.
you're the last witness, you're going to tie up all those loose ends. Oh, no one ever mentioned that Steve was there on that Tuesday. Let me make sure I add that in there. And that is, as anybody can just plainly see, putting their thumb on the scale.
Do you think
y'all.
he does? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to jet this because I'd moved that thing. But man, I love talking with y'all anytime you want. Please, everybody, follow, like, all that other stuff. If you want to find me, my only real social media is on Twitter at Lawyer Schiff, where I am kind of constantly. I'm sorry, I gave up on all the other ones. And Sweet Pea, we need to hang out again. Please, I'd love to talk with you and your audience. I love engaging and I love answering the questions. Really, if you just want to do a question and answer about the dumb crap we see in court, there's about 15 shows on that. We talk about all that. And man, we get Doug, we can get a whole bunch of lawyers together. Just let me know.
All right. Joshua, I appreciate you joining. I will leave your link to your Twitter in the description. All right.
Have a great night from Atlanta.
Thanks for joining. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, so I will leave every part of his Twitter. You can go find him there. You can go find him there. Great takes, always. But now we can talk, because I also wanna ask you, Sweet Pea, in regards to your old coverage of this case. Do you think I personally don't know, call me crazy, and many people are gonna call me crazy for this. Maybe I'm a stickler, but these little evidence, like the finger clip testing that the prosecution did not do, I find that to be so bothersome to me, that you're trying to tie this guy to the crime and you didn't do that. Sure, he could drive in there for 2 hours. I could listen. What if he just had another side piece in the car and he just wanted to bang her in the forest? Who knows? He said already that he saw another girl called Joy. What if this guy was just going around getting girls and going, who knows where it was going? So, like, I personally felt like, because of the parents' testimony, in regards to Jim, in regards to them receiving emails from agents, the father testified to receiving emails from agents that wasn't introduced into evidence, for example. I always found that strange, but I don't think he did this. I think there is Jim out there. I think Jim is out there.
You think Jim out there? You think he come in with his cape? Oh, let me help you. Oh, no way. No how. No way. No way. And I'll tell you why. It's no way. Yes, they did lack doing some things that I thought that they should have, investigated, right? When we're talking about the parents, this Protect, whatever, I think it was called Protect or something, kind of mail system that was encrypted. Well, it's encrypted because criminals use it. Okay. They're hiding something, like, no. So the parents were kind of old. There was no security. They were driving up to a gated community. Like, I don't think that they knew. Like, I think they drove up, they used the secure app, right? They drove up and it was just a gated community. We have those down here everywhere. There is no security team, no enforcer, none of that. I don't believe any of that stuff. And unfortunately, they just were not well-rounded enough to know. But no, I definitely think, unless he's the most unluckiest man to put him in all those places at that time during the time that she was unalive is no way.
I mean,
And I play devil's advocate all the time because I told my chat what he should get up on his stand and say. I said that he needs to get up on his stand and say that Jim McIntyre was threatening him. He should have started that from the interrogation.
okay.
That Jim McIntyre was threatening him. He don't know who he is. Da 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 da. He was threatening him. Boo hoo hoo. He took his wife. You know, he told him not to say nothing. That's why he moved to Pennsylvania. That's why he changed his name. That's why he got a new wife. Because Jim told him to do it and was threatening his life. That's what kind of story he should have came up with. Not this fairy tale, like not this fairy tale, right? We got too much documentation. Jim told me that I had to, you know, I was even there when he did that to Mindy. That's why my car was there because Jim made me go. Like you got to put yourself somewhere in there. Like, no, yeah, no, yeah, but no, unless Jim comes in with a cape, right?
With a cape.
I'm telling you, I think it's his ego. I really do.
I mean, like, I was gonna ask Joshua Schiffer this question in regards to using Signal to communicate, because I don't know how that's gonna help clients, in my opinion, going forward, like, because it has such a bad rap now. You can't get any messages from law enforcement, can't access your messages to bring into court, all of those things. But even with that, I have Signal, I communicate on there. It doesn't mean I've murdered somebody. I still think, and again, I know what he sent into to his new wife. I just don't, and I know the jury likely convicted him, most likely, because they didn't have to show motive. They didn't have to show motive. They just have to show that there was premeditation. Well, not even premeditation, just like there was an intent to kill the person, which is all well and good. But I will always feel that if they had to show motive, this case, they wouldn't have found him guilty, in my honest opinion. Because why are you going on the run with this woman just to kill her? That has never made sense to me. Go on.
Well, I think that was the initial thing when we first started the case, right? And as I stated, the prosecution team did a very good job with wrapping it up and putting some pieces together. And that's why they put the first wife on there, to show this pattern that, hey, Nick wanted kids. No matter, you know, it may seem like a small thing to us, but that was a big thing in his life, right? Think about it. So she put it together. Nick wanted to have kids. First wife could not have kids. He owes her over $1.5 million. Second wife wants to keep Nick. So for some reason, she decides that she wants to tell him she's pregnant, right? Because I think that she did tell him that she's pregnant. And I think that he believed it up until he found out that she wasn't pregnant. And that kind of sent him off the hinge because she couldn't get pregnant. But he can't divorce her. What am I owe 2 wives for? So I already owe one. So how about I get rid of you and I'm moving on. Remember, the third wife, soon as they got married, she testified that they immediately went to go see about having a baby. So that's he wanted kids, and he couldn't afford to pay Mindy, and he got to pay this broad over here. Absolutely not. No way, no how. And remember, he got the money for the book. You know, the $300,000 that he got there because he sold a novel or something to Sony. So he had got money, you know, but he ain't trying to split that with Mindy. Like, and she can't give him kids, and he ain't trying to divorce. You see what I'm saying? So now he gonna have 2 debts, and she can't give him kids.
That's a very good point. And
right.
now
They tied it up at the end because throughout the trial, I was just like, I don't get it. Why not off the first wife that you owe the money? Mindy doesn't have any life insurance, right? It wasn't that serious to go to because he's been divorced before, so it's not saying that he couldn't get a divorce again to go with the last girl, Samantha. So yeah, I really think it was more about the kids, and he didn't. And it is kind of money, because he would have owed Mindy some money, right? He had just sold a book or something to Sony, or he was on his way to selling it. So he would have had two debts.
Okay. Okay. So I never. Okay, that's it. That's a good point. And when you do compound, we did hear testimony from Betsy to say that he sent that she received, and this is the part that this is the part that really unhinges me a lot, is the fact that she received an email. Well, the father and the mother all received emails that wasn't brought into the case, but she received an email from one of the security guys letting him know that Nicholas had died. Now, hold on. If this is Nicholas, because they have shown emails of Apis, they have shown emails of all that, and it wasn't, you can't say it's hearsay or anything like that. I was actually looking forward to seeing this email where it would go back to Apis and say that Nick was the one that sent this to basically say that he is dead. This is why I believe that there could be a Jim McIntyre, and I believe this because if someone else, if I hear of the name Jim McIntyre being found on a database somewhere after they've caught a string of murders, a guy, listen, and I wanted to ask Joshua that question as well in regards to whether he would get released from prison for that. Anyway, but if I will feel the biggest vindication. But I do understand that, like I said, no, he lied. The fact that I'm sorry, but the fact, gone.
So I'm gonna ask you, because take Jim out of the picture.
Okay.
He still did it. If you put all of the stuff, even if you put Jim back in the picture, what evidence links Jim? All Jim did was tell him, give me your money, give me all your social accounts, you move here, you do this, and you do that. Jim didn't commit the unaliving of Mindy. Like, Jim did. What would link Jim to it? Like, Jim wasn't at the scene. Jim was not in the store purchasing all the equipment, the murder, the unaliving equipment. Jim wasn't doing. No. So it still falls all back on him, right? Even if Jim is there.
Hank Brennan has warned us the evils of Signal after seeing the shenanigans of MSP. I would only use Signal in America. Attorneys are required to preserve records so we don't set up the disappearing messages feature. Okay, or anything like that. Okay, cool. So so attorneys can use Signal. So, that just made me think. So why did Hank Brennan try to make it a big deal then, if they can still access the messages from? Anyway, never mind. I'm getting distracted. Okay, so look, listen. I'm not saying what I'm trying to say is that there were moments from his theory of Jim before he got onto the stand. There were moments that could have stuck the landing, in my opinion, because. And I will agree, the fact that he got onto the stand and testified to a lot of the things he testified to, especially regarding Joy. A lot of people might not remember it, but he testified to having an affair back in 2020 when Mindy was pregnant with their, he had an affair with Joy during that COVID time. I don't know why he went into that, but that's why I believe. But he went into that to basically say he was talking to so many other people on other Twitter accounts, and he was telling other people that Mindy was dead. So that was a pattern that he has always done to keep his fidelity going. So he leaned into that bad fact and tried to use it to his advantage. But what I'm trying to say is, do you really think that Jim McIntyre could not exist at all in any realm?
No, I think that Jim McIntyre could exist in the rim. Um, but even with that being said, um, nothing ties Jim McIntyre to the crime. So, regardless if Jim came in his life and did all of these things and told him to do all these things, he was not in the store purchasing anything. They don't have any records of anything. Like, they did search, they said they searched. And, because he tried to bring that up, and when they were cross-examining him, he tried to say, I thought y'all would find him. But, it's just no way. No way, no how.
I mean, like, I do agree with what you said, like, in regards to him he should have said, no, Nick, like, and I thought he was building up to this. When he said, Nick, I'm not an FBI agent, I thought this was when he was going to say, no, I'm actually here to kill you. So you better do everything I say or you're dead. If that was the moment that came out, do you think that would have changed your mind in regards to how you view Jim McIntyre, him buying all of these things? Would that change your mind?
I think that he would have had to put that, that he was, threatened, and, kind of tie that into why he did the things, why his vehicle was where it was at, why he was in this store, kind of, Jim made me do it, Jim made me do that. But I think the bottom line is, if you couldn't produce a Jim, that's just you it's still a fairy tale, right? I mean, you have to be able to prove it, right? In court, you got to be able to prove it. And I mean, nothing, not a text message, not a nothing, like not nothing, like nothing. So how could the jury even believe him? And then, even the judge seen it. Did you hear the judge at the end? Like, the judge was like, he had to hold his complete composure, in regards to telling this man, like, you come up here with this, like, the nerve of you to get on this stand and say those words, this ridiculous story. And then, but it appears, like I said, it runs in that family, because the parents got up there and they were clearly not in the same courtroom that we were in.
So Adventure Aaron answer my question earlier. He said, in regards to if there was a Jim McIntyre person running out there and killing somebody, and they find records to go back to it being Jim McIntyre, Aaron, I believe you are in law. If I'm, are you? Let me know in the chat what you do, because her prowess is extremely good. But anyway, she said it is unlikely that Nick would be immediately released if Jim popped up. Even if Jim confessed or his DNA was present at the scene, Nick would have grounds for a new appeal, though. Okay, fair enough. Okay, I did not know that.
So it's hope for you, boy.
Huh?
It's hope for your boy. Jim McIntyre to please stand up. Even the juror. Did you hear what a four-person was like? Where's Jim?
Okay, I'm appellate attorney in Missouri and Kansas. Okay, well, I appreciate you answering these questions. Thank you so much, Aaron. So no, it's not like he's my boy. I honestly saw that this guy, he looked like he was roasting up there. He actually looked like he was actually like dying up there. Like he knew that he was cooked. He knew he was cooked. And as I was watching, I actually thought there was something psychologically wrong with him. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I just tried to give him the benefit of the doubt in like try to say there is no way a sane human being will go up there and lie like this. And where Trial Channel says here, because she says here, there may have been a Jim. Let me just damn, my chat fell out. Let me try and bring it back up, because yeah, something just happened to my chat and I just lost it. 1 second. Bear with me, guys, because I want to read that out. Okay. Okay. Uh, Apologies for this. Okay. Let me try and find it again. Okay, so she said, hold on. She said there may have been a Jim character who existed briefly in their lives, and Nick took that and ran with it. And I really believe everything, every event from every event from because it still doesn't make sense why he would negotiate for 1.5 million for a 5-year marriage. A 5-year marriage, and there's no records of what they were earning or anything like that. She even testified that she saw the records and it was fake, and we don't see these records in the evidence. But that's what she testified, that records were given, that he actually did have money to pay for the 1.5 million that he had negotiated for, but they were all fake records. That's what she said. So I'm thinking he may have had someone to have advised him, and this person may have been Jim, but he's just looking back after he's been caught. that's actually a very good point. What do you think of that point?
I'm all for a good argument. Unless Jim stands up, I don't think that he was, even if this person was in their life at some point in time, him coming up with the 32 million, like we was like 32 million, where did he get 32 million? I could probably see him and his wife. They look like they were very successful, right? He was able to borrow 200,000 from somebody. Like, you got to be somebody successful to be able to ask somebody for $10, right? Let alone 200,000. Like, I probably can get you $5.
I can't even get $2 from my friends, let alone 200K. Like, that man was privileged.
Yeah, and he had successful people that he was around, right? So that get from that money. So I think that, or loan that money, or however they want it. She want her money back though, but so I think that the 1.5. I think that they were successful, him and his wife, at some point in time, where they they had a house. He was supposed to. I think the way that he was supposed to get some of that they were supposed to sell the house, and that's how he was supposed to get half, if I'm not mistaken. It's something with the vehicle. I know the vehicle wasn't worth that much, but I think it's something with the house and some other things that he had going on. And he agreed to pay that 1.5 million, and then he ended up, having to owe, more than that, like another 900,000 on top of it because of whatever happened. But that date was coming up. They were trying to, lean towards that. Hey, that he was gonna have to make payment on that at some point in time. The judge was gonna throw him in jail. So that's when he come up with 32 million, not 32,000. Let me get it correct. It was $32 million, right? And the judge, and he said, my wife, Mindy, is holding the funds. And the judge was like, well, I can't go get Mindy, but I can throw you in jail. So, but,
That's why I don't. This is why I felt like that testimony should not have come in. This is why I felt like none of the X, because it doesn't add to. I mean, their theory eventually, in my opinion, I think that the prosecution switched their theories midway, because they knew that if they continue on with the theory of he had moved on, he wanted to move on to a new life, and I felt like the prosecution moved on to the new theory mid-trial, because I felt like if they continued with the theory that they presented in the opening statements, that he was running away from the judgment, and he thought he could start a new life with this new wife. So he killed Mindy for that reason. And then they changed that to getting stabbed in the belly, while using the getting stabbed in the belly, the defects that was testified to by Keith Lamar, the medical examiner. The prosecutor tried to use that to say that he was stabbing her for that reason. I had so many questions regarding that, but nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is that they pivoted so much that the previous testimonies in regards to the wedding, in regards to the previous marriage, all of that just became irrelevant overnight. And in my opinion, I was like, there is no way it shouldn't have come in. It shouldn't have come in because end of the day, it's a different set of facts. It did not matter in this case. They didn't even have to prove the motive. So I don't know why that was allowed in. I felt they could have literally done this case without even having to go through all of that. But I want to ask you, what did you make of Rusty? Do you think that Nick stole Rusty from the first wife? Because she was crying when she came out and said that she lost Rusty.
I don't know. I don't know if Rusty was alive before he left. I thought Rusty was made up at one point in time. I don't know. I'm not even gonna hold you on that one because I don't know. I thought Rusty, I know he mentioned something about his dog when he was in the police interrogation. That was kind of like one of the first things that he wanted to know about. But when she got on the stand and she started crying, and she said she spent the last 2 years of Rusty's life with him or her, I couldn't understand if Rusty had passed away when they were in the marital home or if Rusty was made up. So I don't have a comment for that one because I don't know. I don't know about Rusty.
No, that's fine. No, I was really shocked when she said that because I was like, wait a second, like he stole your dog as well from the previous marriage. That sounds really insane. But so do you? I have no way to. I honestly, do you think that personally? I personally thought that the jury had the. I'm not gonna fault it. They had the correct verdict in the end. Every evidence, in my opinion, did point to Nick. I'm not gonna dispute that. In all fairness, even Rusty knew Jim wasn't real.
I believe that.
But what did you make? Do you think that there could have been a situation in which Jim could have got away with it based on the representation he had?
No, I think that Doug did the best that he could with what he had. I mean, he's not a magician. So that's kind of
he worked for the dream team. I gotta ask the question. The dream team, the OJ case, it worked for them. I mean, these set of facts are not like they're not so different. They're not so different from the OJ case. Like, we just don't have the glove this time.
Yeah, well, I don't think. Yeah, Nick thought he was being slick and thought his phone was off. Thought he wasn't in that location. They had a lot of circumstantial evidence to place him there. I mean, either or, he's either the most unluckiest person.
I think he's unlucky because he was not even wearing because
he sit where he at because he should have reported his wife when his wife was missing.
But he said that she went to the hospital. You wouldn't report your wife.
What hospital do somebody go to that you have to get the ashes on the side of the road? Come on now. Okay, I ain't gonna play this guy. I mean, I'm good for a good outside the box theory. I gave you the theory that he had to get off of this. That's it. No, leave that Jim stuff alone. Now, I gave you the theory. He had to say Jim was, threatening him, and he couldn't do anything else, right? But do what Jim said, yeah. And Jim just took off, and Jim did everything, and still he was still going to go down because Jim is not there, so they have to take somebody down, and it would have been him.
No, I completely get that. I just don't think like anyone will go out there and commit a murder without gloves. No gloves was found, by the way. Without gloves.
No, he used wipes. cleaned himself up. He took a little a bird bath.
They couldn't even find gloves on the totes. They couldn't even find gloves on it. This is, but I'm playing. Okay. I will come back to reality now. I'm playing devil's advocate. I think that this idiot did it. Like probably the most sloppiest I have ever seen. Did not even scout out the area. In fact, I found it weird that it took 4 days to locate the body. Like I think the body had decomposed for a while, so it took like it wouldn't make sense for a non-hunter to know exactly when to go, when not to go, and he was so sloppy to even leave it on the road where people could see. Like so for a second, I did believe that there was someone else there that could have framed him. But like you said, I was expecting him to go up there and say, listen, I was being set up by this Jim McIntyre person. You're not gonna believe me, but I'm going to show you every single way that this guy was. I was expecting that, and then he turned out to say that Jim McIntyre was their best friend. like we had trusted him. Mindy vouched highly for him on all those things. So. But in all fairness, I think that this was a case that the prosecution could have lost so much if he didn't take the stand. If he just didn't take the stand, I think they could have lost this case. What do you think? If he didn't take the stand, this is.
No, I don't think. I don't think, only because of the certain fact that if he didn't take the stand, we don't get that version of Jim, right? He took the stand and we got a version of Jim. So either way, he was kind of like, damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? Because somebody had to bring Jim there. Like somebody had to bring Jim there. And if he didn't get on the stand, who's vouching for, the jury is going back there like, who is this Jim guy, right? That is invisible. Like you were talking about a whole invisible, nobody in whatever year this happened. When this happened, 2023, 2024. Nobody in this era is that invisible. Like nothing, no, nothing. And what makes Nick so important that somebody coming after him? Really?
What makes Mindy so important that someone would want to kill her?
Like, yeah. So really, like, I think that they would have put those pieces together. Like, he is not that important. Like, then he was trying to get up on the stand. It was everybody, you said if he did get on the stand, but yeah, even with that, like, what made him in a position? Like, he not the president. Like, what are we doing here? He got Secret Service. No, he has a gated, secure serve, a gated community. Nothing more, nothing less. I got that too. Big deal. He'd have told these parents, like, no way. Yeah. So I think that they would have put the pieces together because it would have had to been something to connect some dots for them.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. So, yeah, we will. Okay. So we were theorizing. I was theorizing in the chat. For my for the catch up that I was doing. For this case, and I felt that we had solved who Jim McIntyre is. In my opinion, you are not going to believe me, but I personally believe, like I said, he's real, and I got to show you who I believe Jim McIntyre is.
Okay.
And he is well known, in my opinion. You may have seen him, and I believe that this man is 100% Jim McIntyre. He was 100% speaking with Nicholas when he was with him, and he was 100% working for the FBI. I don't have any proof. I just don't have. I believe it's him. I believe this is him. I don't have proof. You just have to, because he's still in, like, we've seen the evidence already. Shannon Burgess is Jim McIntyre. He has already told. I believe it. I believe it. He has already told the court that he is waiting for his PhD since 2009. He does a course that doesn't even exist. This is Jim McIntyre, guys. I really think he went out there, former expo witness. I really think he went out there and told Nicholas that he's part of the FBI and they should go and Aperture, Apis Limited, put 2 and 2 together, guys. Like, you don't see it? You don't see it? He's right there. You don't believe me? What do you think of that?
I'm gonna let you go with your theory. Tell Mr. Jim McIntyre to please stand up.
2009 undergrad, by the way, still studying for 17 years. Come on. Come on. Aperture, Apis, Justin Welcher, paint on the arm. Who are these people? One says he's an FBI agent.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Listen, I appreciate you for joining and talking with me in regards to this case. Honestly, I appreciate every single one of your chat for coming over. They have been seriously amazing. What other case? Like seriously, like I have put your channel in the description. What made you join? What made you start doing your whole YouTube channel, and what cases are you covering next?
Well, I started my YouTube channel because I like to watch trials, right? And everybody else like to watch trials, and I was like, well, if I'm tired of throwing my shoe at this screen, so. And you know, it's kind of hard to talk to other people about a trial that you're interested in if they're not a trial watcher, right? It kind of like become numb to their ears. So that's kind of how I got into the trial thing. Right now, we are covering. I think you're doing the catch up. If I'm not mistaken, I looked at your catch ups. I know I seen the one on the one that in Georgia. We in Georgia again with Christopher, right?
Christopher Wolfenberger, yes.
Yeah, so we'll be in court tomorrow with Christopher, and then we are going to be covering our next big trial. It's going to be the Donna Adelson.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be covering that. That should be coming up, and then we have the Julio Fulio, the rapper that was on the live. We'll be covering that starting on Tuesday. So we had a very busy week, and we just try to get in all the courtrooms wherever they want me to go. That's where we go. We up here all day, like we going in this courtroom. Okay, we going in this courtroom. We call it musical chairs, and we just go from one room to the other room, to the other room, and we covering them all in some type of fashion. Yep, absolutely.
Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. I mean, I am only covering the Wolfenberger trial at the moment, so like but. Like I said, in regards to the Ali case, is where I saw you on that. I thought that that case itself was kind of crazy. Surprised with the verdict, but at the same time understandable. Definitely when we reach a verdict in regards to the Wolfenberger case, I will love to have you back on, because in all fairness, I didn't even think that it will get that far. Like, I'll be surprised if this actually passes the bar for the I forgot what it's called, but the acquittal. I forgot the technical term, but it's when the defense make a motion to basically dismiss all the charges and says that the prosecution has not met their burden to. I'll be surprised if this case actually meets that burden. I don't think it's there. I don't think it's there at all.
It's definitely a hot mess.
Yeah. But well, yeah,
in that courtroom, right? Huh? That's where we'll be.
Yeah. No. I love your chat. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in onto my channel. Hopefully, you guys have subscribed. All we do is bring recaps here from the cases I'm covering, making it easier for you to catch up. OnlyFans says judgment for acquittal. Thank you so much. That's what I mean. Judgment for acquittal. I know it's called motion to dismiss in like civil cases and like this and that. So, but yeah, I thank you so much for joining. Make sure you go check out Sweet Pea Diamond, Take It to Trial channel. If you are watching this back on replay and you don't know who she is, I think you're well known. I think you're well known based on the chat. Based on the chat. Like, no, I am happy that you joined here. Thank you so much to all the new members and the people that super chatted. Yeah, so this case is over. This crazy Nicholas Kassotis case. If Jim McIntyre is somehow found, if he's somehow found, I will put up the best. I will put up the best victory parade and say, see, I told you, it really was him. But I doubt it. I doubt it. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Take good care of yourself. Have a great evening all day, and I'll see you on the next time. Make sure that you check the description for the details about the stream, as well as how you can support these other creators. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Bye, Sweet Pea. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Thank you everyone for tuning in for another Catch Up Call live stream. Make sure that you smash that like button as well as hitting that subscribe button to be notified of our future live streams. We go live regularly, bringing you case updates and recaps of ongoing trials, so make sure you hurry back on the next live stream. We also have more content on the channel that you can binge on. Check out the playlist that we have showcasing all of these contents. Without further, I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and I'll see you back in court.